Let's get started. Everybody, welcome to our webinar today. We are doing one of our first social media webinars this year. We're going to kind of do a series of 4, probably 1 per quarter, with our wonderful partners at Flying Camel. So today is expand your influence on Instagram. So we're going to be doing a deep dive into Instagram, and we have our experts with us. So I am going to pass it along to Leanne, and she can introduce her team and kind of kick things off.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I see some familiar faces in these little squares that I see right now. Hi, Lisa. Just saw you recently. I'm Leanne Wood. I'm president of Flying Camel. We're the agency of record for Cabico, and we're very excited to be with you today to talk about all things Instagram. I'd like to introduce my colleagues. Kimberly Williamson is the vice president of Flying Camel. She started out many years ago as a social media specialist, then became director of digital, and then moved into the VP role at the agency. Kim is probably one of the most knowledgeable people I know about social media, and she actually makes data and metrics cool. So
I try.
She's very proud of the fact that she's a big nerd when it comes to that. So if anyone ever asks you what kind of the return is on social media or anything like that, she's the gal that has the answer. So that's Kim. And then I'd also like to introduce Rachel Copewell, and she's the account specialist for Cabico. She's the point person, and she actually is the person who actually pens a lot of the captions on that you read on Instagram. She's the driving force behind the Cabico account with my help and with Kim's help. So she's also the person that knows a lot about the ins and outs of Cabico itself. And also, just as a little bit of an introduction too, our agency specializes in the interior design industry. We are niched, and we are very used to communicating with the design community. Some of our other clients include Costantino, Lixo, which is American Standard, DXV, Groa. We are part of the agency collaborative for KBIS. We do the social media for KBIS and KBA. And we also have other accounts in the home space, such as Hamilton Beach. So am I missing anyone, guys? I just went over that, but there's a few out there. But just to say that we are very used to communicating, and what we're going to talk about today is actually Instagram for this industry. It's not going to be talking about generalities. It's going to be talking about how to communicate and expand your influence in the design community. So with that, we will get started with the presentation. I just also wanted to make a note, as Jessica said, please ask questions, use the chat function, or I'm not sure if the Q&A function is enabled. It doesn't look like it.
No.
I'm going to monitor the Q&A. A lot of times questions that you're asked might be addressed later on in the presentation, so I might not answer them, but if it's something that I will interrupt both Kim and Rachel as they're giving the presentation, if I feel if it's a great point. If not, we will address more of them at the end. So please make a note, because you might not remember at the end. Just put it in the chat, and we'll make sure that any questions or concerns are addressed at the end or during the presentation. Okay, so yes, hello and welcome. One thing, I know everyone's here because they're interested in Instagram. We're going to share some numbers with you on how important it is to the design community itself. Today, we're going to deep dive into this popular social media platform. We're going to share best practices. We're going to give you tips. We're going to help you master stories and hopefully build your own influence in the world of Instagram to move the needle in your business. So we don't have a choice on whether we do social media. The question is how well we do it. The one thing I always love that's when people say, oh yeah, well, just hire an intern to do your social media, or do that, or just, oh, whoever isn't busy, do the social media. That's actually probably not the best approach, because it actually has turned into quite a science and an art. So we're going to go over that today as well. So social media is definitely a business tool. So whether you're experienced at social media, if you are the social media person at your showroom or in your business, or whether you want to learn more so you can contribute to that, we're glad you're here. The following slides will take you through what we feel are the necessary steps to understand Instagram a little bit more. And one thing I want to point out is you don't have to be the master of all social media platforms. Choose 2 or 3 and do them well. And if you want, I've been asked this many, many times. In our industry, if you are going to choose one to do very well, I would definitely recommend Instagram. So that's why we're kicking off this social media series for 2021 with Instagram to get everyone up to speed as soon as possible. And right now, I want everyone to take out their phones because yesterday we soft launched Elmwood Cabinetry on Instagram and on Facebook. It's Elmwood Cabinetry on both. So I want to see everyone that I can see. Go there right now. Follow. How many people are in this? Just 28 minus the 4 of us. I want to see 24 new follows by the time we leave here, or you have to deal with Leanne. I'm very scary. So there you go. So if everyone could do that right now, that would be great.
I see the followers coming in.
Nice.
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 And just for anyone who isn't aware, we are doing we are doing a rebranding of the Cabico and Elmwood brands, or brand separation. We're kind of restructuring our brand architecture. So in the next few weeks, we'll have lots of exciting announcements about that. But this was kind of the first step, and you guys are going to be some of the first kind of new dealer followers that know about this.
Yes, exactly. And also we are going to, you'll not only get this presentation at the end for attending, but we're also going to distribute a general social media best practices document to everyone who attended as well, just in case there are any questions about any other platforms other than Instagram. So you will be getting kind of 2 deliverables at the end of this seminar. So let's start out with getting visible. This isn't so much a social media tactic. We just want to make sure that everyone on their main website and on communication pieces are telling the world that you have social media and that you have Instagram. So let's make sure that everyone check out your company page, how you communicate to your customers, that everyone is publicizing. This is not the time to be a best kept secret. Oh, I didn't know you have Instagram. Oh, I didn't know you were active on social media. Tell everyone, because that's the way you gain more followers, and it's really important to do that. And also make sure that you're keeping your social spaces up to date, because there is that tip there. There is that perception that if you don't have time to keep your social media up to date, you don't have time for new projects, which is a little bit of a misconception, but it all goes together. You wouldn't drop another whole big piece of your marketing. So make sure that if you do commit to something like Instagram and you commit to your social spaces, that you are making that commitment and making sure that you're doing it with frequency and consistency. So let's just do a poll. Jess is going to fire this up. We've been playing with these polls and having a lot of fun with them. So we just want to kind of read the room on what the levels are, and if you are currently active or if you're just here to learn a little bit more. So is the poll out there, Jess?
No, because it says, since I'm logged in from another device, cough, cough, Kaylee, my polling session is inactive. So, Rachel, do you need to be a host in order to do this? Maybe I'll make you a host.
Oh,
I just launched it. I see it.
It's up.
Yep.
Okay.
I don't have to leave.
No, you just have to run the polls now.
Okay, this is great. Oh, I love this coming in. This is so fun.
Leanne, we're getting data.
Look at this data. Kim is totally nerding out right now.
In real time.
Okay, it looks like only 2 people have never used Instagram. So thanks for joining us to learn more. Lifelong learning is great. Like the majority looks like they have somewhat experienced on Instagram. And then we have 4 that consider themselves pros. So please raise your hand and make comments, because we could probably, social media is always changing. We might be able to learn something from you as well. So, okay, that's great to know. Thank you. Poll closed, sharing poll results. Everyone can see now.
Everyone can have a look. There we go.
Awesome. Okay, diving a little bit deeper into why Instagram. This is why. These are the numbers. This is the data. This is the research. Over 1 billion people use Instagram every month. 140 million US users are reached through Instagram. 500 million people use stories every day. 58%, this is important, this is business stuff. 58% say they become more interested in a brand after seeing the product and after seeing it on stories. So if you can imagine what sharing your projects and your beautiful images will do. 81% of people use Instagram to research products and services. If people are on that purchase journey for a new kitchen, a new bathroom, for anything to do with cabinetry, this is where they're looking. This is the audience. Over 267 million posts, hashtag design, interior design, over 100 million posts. These are big numbers, people. People are using these hashtags to search projects and get inspiration. As you can see, over 10 million posts on design inspiration, kitchen design, 8.4 million posts, and custom cabinetry, 230,000. So take note of these hashtags. These should be in your Instagram posts, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But I just want to set that framework that Instagram is a great place for the design community. And I'm going to turn this over to my colleague, Kim, and she's going to do that whole thing where she's going to tell you what you're going to learn, and then we're going to learn it, and then we're going to talk about it again. So Kim, go for it.
And then we'll all get really, really happy.
Yes, exactly.
That's the process.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah. Before I jump in, I just want to go over the different topics and sort of the pathway that we'll take on our webinar today. We'll start with some best practices for the feed and for stories, because those are very different products inside the Instagram product. We'll talk about what makes a good feed post, talk about some of the gear that you need to get the right images and assets to do a good job on the platform. We'll take a little glimpse at Instagram Reels, which is Instagram's sort of answer to TikTok in quick video format. We'll share some hacks and some workarounds that we've discovered and things that have really helped us as we've launched and grown the Cabico Instagram presence. I'm going to talk a lot about the importance of listening and engaging with your social media audience. And then we'll geek out a little bit with the social advertising. I'm going to have some questions for you all about social advertising, about gauging your interest there, because that's definitely a topic that we can talk a lot about, and it may warrant its own webinar in the future. And then I want to talk a little bit about what to measure. What data to be looking at, where to get it, and how to think about it in terms of your own business's success. We'll finish off talking a little bit about the importance of online reviews, Instagram and in a few other places, and then we'll have some time to answer some questions at the end. Sound good?
Perfect.
All right, let's do it then. Okay, so let's start with some best practices for the Instagram feed. I'm going to say that these are the tips that work the best for us, and where we've seen a lot of growth and potential in both the interior design category and as it pertains specifically to Cabico and some of our other clients. For those of you who are new to the platform or express that you're in the sort of the beginning phases, it's really important to make sure that what you're working with on the platform is a business profile. There's 3 different types of Instagram accounts, and they each have their place in the mix. One is the personal profile. That's me when I'm logged in as myself. The second is the business account. And it's really important that it's set that way so that you get access to analytics and insights, and Instagram treats your account a little differently. And the third type of account that we won't spend a lot of time talking about today at all is the creator account. And that's at the influencer level. It's another product inside that has different functionality. But for the purposes of today, every recommendation that we make is going to be based on we believe you need a business profile. So if you have questions about how to make sure or something like that, we can definitely answer that when we get to the question period. The second is a note about cadence, and that means how often you are posting. We see the most account growth and activity when we post at least every other day, if not every day. We haven't seen a lot of growth on top of that if we were to post multiple times a day. And the good news about that is, because that's a lot to commit to, the good news is you get to decide for your business what consistency looks like. If you're going to post twice a week and you can commit to that, then just make sure that you stick to it so that your community gets to know you and your brand and your business and what they can expect from you. The second is telling a story. And it's a simple way to do something that's actually pretty, it's fun, but it's also complicated, because you want every image that goes up on your Instagram feed should tell a story. What are your skills? What do your finished projects look like? What would it be like to interact with your business? And then as a whole, you want your feed to be a really good representation of your overall company brand story, and link back to important things like where your business sits in your unique marketplace, what your particular brand story is, any mission statements, things that you can do. You want to make sure that what you post on Instagram is aligned with all of your other business messages. The next bullet point that I want to talk about is keeping your captions short and snappy. This is really, really important. And it's not necessary that every post only go up with a few words, but it's best to have something really interesting and short that will capture a social media user's eye at the beginning. And then you can have a line break, and then project details, tagging people, hashtags, everything we call that below the fold. It's sort of an old way of describing something that you would, when you click for more, you can get more details, that kind of thing. But essentially you've got less than a second to capture a social media user on Instagram's attention. What you're trying to do is post something that is going to stop that user in their tracks. And people get so hypnotized when they're scrolling through their feeds that it has to be very attention grabbing. So short and snappy captions will definitely help get you there. The second part of that, and even more important than the caption, is the high quality photography. So making sure that the images that you're sharing are high enough resolution that that they're not going to be blurry. If the person wants to zoom in on a particular aspect of the project, that they're not going to lose definition when they do so. There are some photography recommendations, and I mean, we don't have to spend too much time talking about that here, but I mean, roughly, if your image is 1,000 pixels by 1,000 pixels, you're definitely going to get the job done in terms of like resolution and things like that. It's not just important for the aesthetic of your feed, it's important for Instagram. So I'm going to talk about the algorithm a little bit here and there, but one of the things that Instagram looks at when it's deciding how important your content is how high quality it is. And it will definitely be able to look at and measure and take into account the resolution of your images. The next is a note on hashtags. We often get asked at Flying Camel how many hashtags, which hashtags, that kind of thing. And the easy answer is 10 to 15 per post will help you get discovered. And now there's different tiers of hashtags. Some of them are the big buckets, the hashtag interior design, hashtag kitchen design, all of those ones that Leanne was showing us a few slides back. Some of them are smaller, but it's kind of finding a balance between the smaller ones. So hashtag white kitchen, hashtag bright kitchen, something that would be considered a subset of those can help you get noticed as well, as long as it is true to the image. Another place to get hashtags, and this is a really dynamic place to pull hashtags from, is from the media magazines in particular that operate in this space. They often have hashtags that they'll use, and that's a great place to attach yourself to a conversation. So I think one of the most successful hashtags right now is #SoDomino. And that goes back to that interior design publication, but it's a really strong hashtag in our space to help get discovered, because it's not in the upper echelons of those giant hashtags. It's one of the smaller ones. And then #your locality, #Calgary, Calgary design. There's other smaller, even more so hashtags that will help you find people that have a higher likelihood of interacting with your business. Do we want to stop and answer this question now? I can't see it, or should I just keep going, Jess?
Just keep going.
Okay, we'll save that for later then. Okay, so after hashtags, we want to talk about tagging our collaborators. This one tends to be a little bit controversial in the interior design space because designers like to keep their trade relationships proprietary, and there's a lot to be understood there. But basically a best practice in social media is if you can tag a person who collaborated on your project without giving too much away, please do so, because they will tag you back, and it becomes a really symbiotic way to share the love around between businesses, and it actually becomes a relationship building technique that help you both get noticed and bring in new projects. Next point is to be social. I'll say this a few times. And I don't know, maybe a few of you have heard me use this metaphor in the past, but it's one of my favorites. When you launch an Instagram account and you spend a lot of time deciding what your vision for this is going to be, collecting assets, publishing to the feed, that's really great. And that's a huge piece of the puzzle, but it's kind of like having a Lamborghini parked in the garage. You have to be able to use this account for something special. And that means connecting, commenting, following designers in your area, really building and using your brand voice with this account and using it to be social. And I can speak to more to that on later on in the deck, pardon me. Next is measuring the results. This doesn't have to be something, I feel like Leanne might have not oversold my skills on this, but I spend days and days pouring through data. That's not necessary for the purposes of your business. And I'm going to make it really easy by letting you know where to look and how to measure. And the next is testing out IGTV. So right now there are 4 key content silos available through the Instagram product. One is the feed. We were just talking about that. Story, we'll dive a little bit more into. Reels, we're going to take a look at that. And the 4th is IGTV. So IGTV is a place for longer format video, and it's something that can help give context to greater projects. There's a lot of different ways that you might be able to use that, and if you have video content that's already been developed, then don't shy away from uploading it, because you never know what's going to spark an idea, spark a connection, and help build your brand on this platform. All right, I think we're good to move to the next. Oh, you know what? I did want to mention one thing about this slide for the people who consider themselves to be new users. There's a screenshot of the Thomas & Birch account just here on the right. And for stories, those are accessible. If we had taken the screenshot at the point when Thomas & Birch had stories that were live, there would be a pink ring around the logo to the top left of that graphic. The fact that there's nothing there right now either means we've watched it already, or they haven't published anything to their story in the last 24 hours. And the colorful bubbles underneath, the one where it says KBIZ19 and then the 3 red icons to the right, that's where you can set highlights. And I wanted to make sure that that was very clear, because when you publish to your story, it disappears within 24 hours, but you can also set it to a highlight, and you can create different highlights, and you can customize those bubbles to represent your brand and to showcase the content that gets published during your story so that it can have a longer shelf life, so to speak, on your account.
And just a shout out to Thomas & Birch, because Heather's on here. We honestly always tell all of our dealers
shout out
that
to Thomas & Birch, absolutely.
Yeah, we always tell everyone to go follow Thomas & Birch because they have such an amazing Instagram account. So
It's
good job,
true.
Heather.
Oh, thanks, guys. It's lacking a little bit right now because I'm just getting back from mat leave, but it's going to be good soon. Spruce up for you guys.
Right on. That's so cool. All right, so a little bit more about what makes a good feed. We've touched on the fact that Instagram is a visual first platform, and it's a great place to show off your portfolio of finished products and projects. In the feed, which is what people see when they go to your account and they scroll, we'd like to recommend that you avoid sharing too many in progress shots on the feed unless they play a purpose. So before and afters can be a swipe across. But most of the time you want to put your best foot forward on the feed. People are looking for highly polished images.
After first.
Yeah, put the after first, because then you can ask people to swipe right, and that's a great way to get engagement. Yeah, definitely. Making it personal, featuring yourself and your staff. I would say that's a great thing to do, as long as you give it a graphic treatment and it doesn't just look like you took a picture of a picture of a staff member who wasn't expecting it or something like that. Like, again, you want to make sure that you save your feed for your highest quality assets. Posting content that reflects your brand, communicating the essence of your business, curating your feed. I'm going to spend a minute talking about that because it's really important. The images that have lived on your feed for quite a long time are not discoverable anymore. So if you post something and it does well, consider that asset still alive, and you could post it again outside of that business quarter, because I know it can be really difficult to have a bank of 200 really great images. So you can go back and revisit content that's done well for you in the past. But it's also really important to, if you're going to do that, don't post it with the same caption again. Find another aspect of that project that you can share, some details that you didn't mention the first time. And another note is, if images have sat for a long time and not performed well, that's an indication that you can pull that image down. Instagram, the algorithm is actually going to be looking at how successful your past content has been in order to determine how good your next post is going to be. And if you can keep a curated feed of just your best posts, and what that means for your business is up to you. You get to decide what that looks like. You just want to make sure that you don't have a bunch of posts that didn't do well as people scroll back through time, because it becomes dead weight that can kind of keep you from surfacing in new users' accounts and prevent you from being discovered on the platform. So that's a tip and trick that not a lot of people know. Avoiding overly heavy filters. People want to get the sense that they're seeing the real space. There's a lot of designers who successfully use preset Instagram image sets. And I think that that's a really great approach, although I have seen it overused to the extent where if people are sharing an image of a bright space, it becomes too blown out. So there's a bit of a finesse when you're thinking about what you want your feed to look like, and using true to the image, true to the space, true to the photo even, settings is never a bad idea, because it's authentic and it will attract the people that it's meant to, if you're doing everything else right. We have here, avoid filters, or pick one and stick to it. Just make sure that you're not moving too far away from the initial vision of that image. And plan your content ahead of time. This is hard for a lot of people because they don't see that they have time to get ahead of it, which goes back to think about what you can commit to and then make time to do it. This is as important as anything else that you're doing to market your business. So we tend to work a month out, but depending on your commitment, you could be planning your content by quarter. You know well ahead of time what projects you have, and if you know you have a busy month coming up ahead, you can use scheduling programs. There's a lot of different ways that you can kind of mitigate the amount of time that content development takes. All right, now a note on gathering your assets. Usually when we do webinars like this is where most of the questions come in. Where do I get these? I don't have a lot of these. What do I do? And the good news is you don't have to have a ton to get started, and you can build as you go. So a few of the places to look right off the bat is obviously finished project images. You can create mood boards or decision boards, brand news that that pertain to new projects or things that you have going on at the office. Client testimonials is also a really great thing to work into your feed grid, because I like to say, people like to work with people other people like to work with. So if you have a way where people can easily connect with word of mouth and other client wins, it's a great thing to showcase. Team interviews, designers who are willing to share their decision-making process, or even just getting to know the face behind the brand is a great place to look as well. And then showroom shots, because especially right now where we may or may not be able to visit you at your locality, letting people know and see what it's like to be with you where you are is a great way to build those connections. There's a tip here that came out of the last webinar that we did, so I'm going to make sure to call attention to it. If you're having trouble securing finished photography after a project is complete, consider adding it to your client's contract to ensure that you have the right to photograph the project and showcase your work. There's some logistics that go around with that. You'll need the day before to clean and style, and if you're going to go through the trouble, it's more than just getting a signature, but it's definitely worth it, because the more access to high quality assets you have, the more you can do. The right gear for the job. So, you know, there's a lot that you can get done with the camera on your iPhone. I've seen some really, really amazing project photography. And it's because the cameras that we have on our devices with us are so sophisticated now, it almost doesn't matter what you're taking the picture with, but it does matter how you're taking it. So, excuse me, there's some tips here for how to get the most out of the space, and it's all going to come down to lighting at the end of the day. So if you're not in a situation where you're going to be hiring a professional photography crew who's going to come in with big umbrella lights and whatnot, here's some tips that can help take your photography to the next level, especially when you're shooting it with yourself. So get yourself a tripod. There's a lot of ones that you can buy on Amazon that have attachments for mobile devices, and it will just help make sure that your lines are super duper crisp and there's no movement between the device and the space as those images are being collected. We have a recommendation there. If when you get this deck afterwards, you want to click on our recommended free or paid photo editing apps, there's a lot that you can do in terms of cropping, editing, lighting adjustment, saturation, all of those things, just getting the most out of your file. And then some more logistical kind of notes: turning off all of the room lights and use even natural light. Oftentimes that means waiting for a sunny day. If the sun is too bright, you may have to close the blinds so that it diffuses a little bit, but basically what you're going for is a room full of natural light so that the light can bounce off all of the surfaces and really let your project shine. You can turn on your in-camera grid, which is it's a 3x2 grid that helps you kind of figure out exactly what's going to be in the frame and helps you keep your line straight. You can do that while you're taking the image, or you can do that in post when you're editing it. Be sure you're holding your camera correctly. I'm not going to name names. Nobody here, nobody in present company, but we've had images come back with a little shade of a thumbprint over the flash or the lens or something like that. And actually, a note on lenses: give your lens, if you're using your mobile device and you just pulled it out of your purse or your pocket, give your lens a wipe, because it makes a huge difference. It's you know, oil from our hands, oil from our faces, debris, things like that. You might not think that your lens is dirty, but if you give it a quick wipe, you'll probably see a difference. You can manually adjust the focus and exposure to get what you like. Again, you can do that while you're taking the image, or you can do it in post afterwards with one of our recommended platforms, or whichever one you're most comfortable with. And the last note is take many images. If you're going to be using these for many different things, take pictures with your device this way, take pictures with your device this way, zoom out as far as you can, and then get some up close detailed shots. People like to see in cabinetry, they like to see the join, they like to see any soft close functionality. Again, if you're using your mobile device, consider getting some video files, because there's always going to be ways to leverage those things as you go forward. And there's a resource there. There's another resource I want to mention, Linda Holt Creative. She's an interior designer, but she gives webinars much like this one about how to capture the best images for interior design. And by all means, check her out. She's a very, very high quality asset that you can leverage.
All right, so I'm going to take it over for you, Kim, and we're going to move on to Instagram stories. So Kaylee, if you could launch our next poll, just get a gauge of how many of you actually post to Instagram stories.
Jessica, I want to make sure you're actually doing that because I don't think I'm a co-host anymore.
Oh, no,
All good. It's okay. I got it in front of me. You got it?
I don't have polling.
Jess,
So-
it's okay. I'll take care of that part.
So Kim, while we're waiting for the results, Heather asks, removing dead weight from your Instagram feed, do you need to delete, or does archive have the same results?
Archive has the same results, thankfully. You didn't used to be able to archive from the feed, and I was very, very grateful when they launched that functionality, because now we don't have to get rid of those images completely, and we can still have access to those legacy posts, I like to call them. Good question.
Wow, looking at this here, 7 of you have never posted an Instagram story. You're missing out on so much fun.
All right,
All right, I'm going to share those results.
perfect. So most of you have occasionally posted Instagram stories. That's great.
Yeah, we've got a good mix. All right, Rachel, I'm going to stop sharing. You can dive into some story stuff.
Yep, we have one more poll actually.
Oh, do we right now?
Yeah, so just for those of you who do post Instagram stories, what kind of content do you post to your stories? So there's the next one.
Perfect.
So behind the scenes shots, finished projects, more personal narrative, or all of the above.
And this goes to Marnie's question as well. For the quality, is there a distinction between your feed and your stories? Meaning, can stories be more job site pictures or videos and keep your feed for more professional pictures? So I would say the answer to that is yes.
Mhm.
Rachel's going to deal with that, but stories are a great place to share those behind the scenes images.
All right, so there are our results. A lot of you are doing a mix of everything, so that's great. And I'm going to dive into some best practices so you can stop sharing those. Kim, thank you.
Very cool to see. Yeah.
All right, so best practices for stories. So Kim kind of went over top line all of the feed recommendations, and like Leanne said, these are a bit different for stories. So stories really complement your feed posts and showcase behind the scenes content. So it's a great way to kind of post authentic in progress shots, like we said. If you're saving your feed for those finished projects, beautiful images, you can go to your stories to, head over to a project site that's in progress and take a video of the in progress project. So it's a great way to kind of share in the moment content. For those of you who don't know, Instagram stories only last for 24 hours. So they stay on your feed for 24 hours and then they disappear. However, there is a way to let them live on your profile long term, and that's by creating story highlights, which I know Kim mentioned previously. So I can, on the next slide, I'll go over an example of what good story highlights look like. But it's just a way to have, when someone goes to your Instagram page, they can look at your feed content, but then they can also look at some of your behind the scenes story highlights and look at what you've posted on your stories recently. Another thing we recommend for stories is using interactive things like polls and questions. So Instagram has a few options where you can see on the right side there on the Cabico page in December, we did kind of a design trends poll series where we asked our followers what their preferences on a bunch of different things that were trending in the design world. So this is a good way, like I said, to get your audience to interact with your stories, get them engaged, and then even get insight by checking out what your clients are liking and what their preferences are and things like that. So there's a lot of fun you can have with stories. So definitely recommend exploring that. For those of you who have never posted a story before, the tip we have here is just make sure that you're taking your videos or photos with your phone in a vertical position. So if you're taking it horizontally, stories will crop it to be smaller. So just make sure they're in that kind of portrait mode, vertical position. And is there anything that you wanted to add to that, Kim?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Moving down. So
Oh,
takeovers.
sorry. Yes. Sorry. I just remembered. This goes back to Marnie's question again. I just want to expand a little bit on that. The way that we like to describe the difference between the feed and the story is, unless it's professional photography of people, you don't really want that in your feed. But the story is a great place to show the interaction and the intersection of your product, your projects, and the people who use them. So that can be someone from the showroom talking about functionality. That can be a lot of different things. Just anecdotally on the Cabico side, some of the stories that have done the best have been at the showroom level, either directly in the showroom or at a project, talking about the special features of that project and the products that were selected and why they were and what they're looking for. And that can be in any state of being finished, including like pulling out old things and just like where you get started. It's been really successful on the Cabico side, making that distinction and really highlighting the intersection between the projects and the products that you use and the people who use them, both on your business side and the end user, the finished user.
Thanks, Kim. And just to kind of further go over the takeovers. So I don't know if anybody has seen, I know some of you actually have participated in our Cabico takeovers, but the Cabico Instagram account does 1 to 2 takeovers per month, where we get a dealer or designer to take over our Instagram stories and showcase behind the scenes of their showroom, some of the projects they have going on, feature some of their beautiful finished projects. So if anybody here wants to get involved in the takeovers, feel free to shoot Jess an email. I think she's going to pop her email into the chat now just to make sure everybody has it. But we'd love to have you participate. And if you're newer to stories and aren't as experienced, we can kind of guide you along the way. So don't be afraid to raise your hand and get involved with us. We love doing them and they've been really great so far. I just wanted to share a few kind of wins that we've had from them. So we started last summer and we've seen some really great traction in the story takeovers that we've hosted. So as of late, some of the dealers have been getting around 150 to 250 clicks to their profile. So our Cabico community going over to the dealer or designer's Instagram feed. And that results in, 15 to 20 new followers, depending on the takeover. So really great results, really something that you guys can get involved in. And it's also something you can do on your own page. So if you want to, have one of your if you're a dealer, a showroom, and you want to have one of your designers come on and do a takeover and take you to a project they're working on, have an employee takeover. There's a lot of great things you can do with that.
Or just that showroom tour. If people aren't able to get in the showroom, just do that. Do one vignette for 4 frames is a great story, and then do the next one. I mean, there's so much content right in your own showroom.
Exactly. All right, so just wanted to show an example of the story highlights that we were talking about. So this is a designer, Lori Gilder, and you'll see at the top here, she has story highlights that are branded. They look really nice on her page. She has renderings on site. So as soon as someone goes to her feed, they can look at all of these stories that she has. And another thing we wanted to call out that is great that Lori does is she has a really good balance between design images and then that personal narrative that we were talking about. So don't be afraid to switch it up and post, a picture of yourself once in a while, or pictures of your showroom. It doesn't always have to be beautiful finished projects. Just make sure that it is still following your brand and still aligns with all of your goals. But don't be afraid to post a picture of yourself and let your community and your audience get to know you. All right, our last poll. Have you used Instagram Reels before? So I think hopefully Kim or someone can launch that poll.
I'm on it, Yvette.
Perfect. Well, we have a couple of people who've used them. That's awesome.
That's great.
I can't vote, but I have not.
All right, so 19% have used them and 81% have not used them. So thank you, Kim. We can stop sharing that. And I'll just go over kind of a quick glimpse into Instagram Reels. So I know Kim mentioned this previously, but it's similar to TikTok. So for those of you who know or don't know, TikTok is a platform that's really gained a lot of traction over the last year with COVID. So it's short, entertaining video clips that all have audio, creative effects. There's all kinds of kind of different things you can do with it. And Instagram recently launched, I think fall of last year, something called Reels, which is their take on TikTok. And what it is it allows you to record and edit 15-second videos to popular or trending songs and sounds. You can also upload videos that you already have and just add a song or a sound onto it. You can share these on your feed, and then it also gives you the option to share them on the Instagram Explore page, which allows it to be seen by people who don't follow you. So if you go on your Instagram Explore page right now, you'll see all kinds of customized content to you that aren't necessarily people that you follow. So it's a great way to kind of gain reach and get people seeing your content who don't follow you. So I just want to show an example of kind of how you can get involved in Reels in the interior design space. So I'm just going to click over here. Can everybody see Instagram opening here? So that's just a good example of something you can do with Reels. It doesn't have to be, like I said, it doesn't have to be anything complicated or, overly complex. It can just be a video of a beautifully designed space that you're in the middle of photographing. Just take a quick video and you can add, a trending song or a cool sound to it and post it, and that could be all that it does. And I don't know if you noticed, but that last video, it was pretty simple and it had over 12,000 likes. So just an easy way to add video content into your strategy as well.
And I just wanted to make a point because I've had the question a couple times about Reels and should we do Reels? Should we do TikTok? We can't do both. You really have to make a decision for yourself on that, because if you have a fairly decent Instagram following, it might be better for you just to do Reels as a different way of content versus starting fresh on TikTok. If you don't have anyone watching your TikTok, it is a great way to get discovered. However, if you have a really engaged Instagram audience, you have to figure out the time, how much time you have. If you want to learn another platform or if you want to jump on the Reel bandwagon, it just depends on your individual situation. I must say though, TikTok is, I think we pulled, before Cabis, we pulled some data on TikTok and interior design, and it was pretty significant. It's definitely a place that people are investigating and starting to work. Do you happen to remember offhand, Kim? I should have pulled that number. It was large.
It was big. And I think I would also like to share, like, TikTok came to us because they want to grow their interior design category. So there's a really good chance we'll be here in a few months talking about TikTok, not necessarily for the purposes of today. And then a last note on that, I want to build on what Leanne was saying. So we've talked about the feed, we've talked about stories, we've talked about Reels, all of those things. As much as Leanne said, you don't have to be on every social media platform. You don't have to use all of the functionality inside Instagram either. Like, the story started out as Instagram's answer to Snapchat and now every platform has that story format. The same is happening now with Reels. But if that short form video format doesn't work for you or your business, or you don't see value in it, don't force it, because it's not necessary. If you're getting more value somewhere else, then that's where you want to put your energy.
Definitely. All right, and now we're just gonna go into some hacks and workarounds, some just quick tips and tricks to keep in mind. So the first one is link in bio. So I'm sure most of you know this, but you can't link a URL in your Instagram feed captions. You can put the website link, but it won't be clickable. So we recommend avoiding that. For stories, if you have more than 10,000 followers, you'll have access to the swipe up feature on stories. So that allows you to include a link where if someone is looking at your story, they can swipe up and head to your website or your blog, whatever it may be. And then for those of you who have less than 10,000 followers, we recommend using a free linking tool. So there's Link in Bio, Linktree, there's a few out there. And I think I noticed the Thomas and Birch account uses Linktree, so that's awesome. And basically what it is on your bio, you'll have a spot where you could put a website. And if you put your Linktree URL, you can add a link or a URL to any of your posts. Just gives you an opportunity to drive traffic to your website or blog, and kind of a workaround for the fact that you can't use clickable links in your captions. And then I have an example there so you guys can check that out, just an example of what a link tree looks like and how to use it. So be sure to check that out so that you're still having calls to action in your content and driving people to your website or your blog, like I mentioned. Moving down to image size. So make sure you're using the recommended image size for Instagram feed and stories. So you don't want to post, a really wide landscape shot just because it won't be the full page. You want to use the recommended image size. So there's a resource there that you can check out. And it's different for every platform. So Facebook has a different recommended size than Instagram does, for example. And then cross-platform sharing. So we want to recommend that you avoid sharing Instagram feed posts directly to your other platforms, such as Facebook or Twitter. Like I said, every platform has different image sizes. They also have different, caption best practices. Instagram uses, like we said, 15 to 20 hashtags, whereas Facebook and Twitter, you wouldn't be using that many hashtags. So if you're sharing directly to that page, it's just not it's not the best way to reach your audience. And you can duplicate your content. So if you have something that you want to share on Instagram and Facebook, all you have to do is adjust the image size, adjust the caption a little bit, and you can still use that content on both. And then for stories, you can share your Instagram stories to your Facebook stories. It's the same size. So we recommend doing that as well if you have a Facebook page. And then you just have to make sure your Instagram and Facebook are linked to each other. And the last thing on here is using a schedule tool. So I know Kim had mentioned this briefly as well, but you can schedule your Instagram content ahead of time, and there are some free tools available to you. So I've linked you guys to Hootsuite and Buffer, just some good examples. And I know Kim mentioned this as well. You don't have to schedule everything 4 months in advance, whatever works for you. If you want to look at the beginning of the month and post or schedule things for the next 2 weeks, just find what works better for you. But a lot of you are very busy seeing clients and visiting projects. So I know it can be daunting to think, oh, I have to post something on Instagram today. So it's just a really great way to have it all scheduled and give you peace of mind that you have regular content going out. And now I will kick it over to Leanne, who provided us with this awesome quote.
I'm not saying anything. I'm just quoted here. I'm feeling very safe. And we joked around because usually I have a little expletive at the end of that, but I'm not going to say it today. But it is called social media for a reason, and because it is social. And I think Kim's going to get into it a little bit more about, the success you can get if you engage and you are social. So it is actually turning it over to Kim.
Perfect. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about listening and engaging, actually using the social accounts in the way that they were intended. Check your ABCs, honestly, always be connecting. If you don't have anything that you can post, that doesn't mean you can't use your Instagram account that day. You should be following relevant accounts in your area, whether that's designers or luxury consumers, or you decide what's relevant to you, right? But you can go in and you can engage with their comment and add valuable insight, or direct people back to one of your posts if you've said something that's relevant to what they shared. There's so many ways to have these conversations. You want to make sure that you're not being spammy, but you want to be able to share that you exist and build on the conversation.
And look at things like other kind of maybe complementary businesses in your markets, like a flooring store, a surfaces store, like anything like that. Make sure you're following them. You're all kind of in it together. And that's a great way to kind of grab new followers or make an impression or make a comment and, build that whole community of design awareness from where you are.
Yeah, exactly. Show them what you got.
Yeah.
Next slide. Okay, we wanted to share this example with you because it's very visual and easy to see that under this Veranda Estate Homes account, which has almost 150,000 followers, they still take the time to go in and comment underneath each one of their engagements. And there's two aspects to that are really important. The most important and the primary reason is to actually be engaging with their audience, to answer questions, to curate the conversation, and to be an active participant in the activity that's happening on their account. The second is, again, that algorithm. If Instagram sees you interacting with the people who have chosen to interact with you, you look good, you look better, you look important, you look engaging, and you'll have a better chance of surfacing in the accounts and the feeds of the people who follow you. You'll have a better chance of making it to the Explore page, which helps you get discovered by new users. And it's a great way to show Instagram that you're basically in it to win it, and you're not just a publisher, but you're actually an engaging account. Okay, now I'm going to dive into social advertising. This is, it's intimidating for a lot of people. It's really, I mean, we can find people with a laser and we can get your content in front of almost anyone in the world. But I think that if you leave this webinar with one thing in your mind, it's you can do it yourself. You don't have to spend a lot of money, and it's not scary. Instagram makes it very, very user friendly. And if you have a business account, you will have a button that says promote, and then you basically just follow the prompts. It can be $5, it could be $500 per post. I mean, you get to decide what success looks like, and you know what's available to you in terms of budget and reach, and you define your goals. So essentially, I guess my suggestion for this is don't be afraid to try it, because it can have a huge impact on how many people see your posts. It will impact how successful your unboosted posts are. If you boost a little bit here and there, I tend to see success goes up across the board. And another benefit that I don't think a lot of people talk about is if you promote your posts, you will also gain new followers. And you will get that statistic on the back end of Instagram. It will say, as a result of this ad, when it's finished running, you generated 25 new followers or 50 new followers or 5 new followers, whatever the statistic happens to be. There's a lot of benefit around exploring this as a way to amplify all of your hard work. You have the assets, and even just a little bit of money can help spread the word.
Just try it, like literally try
Absolutely.
$20, see the difference and see what happens and see if you gain traction. It's kind of it's a test situation, but we would encourage you all to try it.
Yep, it comes down to two really simple objectives inside Instagram. It'll ask you if you want to send traffic to your website or if you want to send people to your profile. If you have a reason that you want to send people to your website, if you wanted to link to a locator or a contact page or something like that, then definitely use that as your objective. For everything else, just keep them on your Instagram page and continue that conversation bubbling. All right, now my favorite part, what to measure. So Instagram doesn't share as much as other social media platforms, but they share enough that we can know whether or not we're hitting our mark. So one of the common metaphors that I'll use when I'm starting out with someone new who maybe doesn't know that much, it's as easy as planning a pizza party. So if we were going to celebrate a win on Instagram a year from now, what did we get done? How many followers did we collect? What is our engagement rate, both overall on the account and per post, because those things matter? How do we compare to our competitors in our area? And overall, how many people are we reaching? If you go into the analytics portion of your business profile, all of those things are available. Depending on what you want to be able to link success back to, I would just say start tracking it, whether that's in like an Excel spreadsheet, or you want to just write it down on a piece of paper. Just keep track of what your goals are and the progress that you're making. It will matter how much energy you can put into it. It will matter what your posting cadence is. All of these things will feed into your success. But I would really recommend that you pay attention to which posts do the best and which ones maybe don't hit that hard, and do more of what works, because that's your community giving you feedback so that you can give them more of what they like and grow your share of market and support your brand voice doing the things that matter most. If we get questions about this, honestly, it's mostly like, how do I know if it's working? How do I know what the ROI is? You define it for yourself, and you'll have every opportunity to gauge it against the data that Instagram provides. Two of the things that I pay most attention to right now, and maybe it's something you want to consider as well, is how many people have saved your content. Because to me, liking something is a really light engagement in terms of brand meaning. But if someone saves your post, it's because they need to come back and see it again. They have a question about it. They want to follow up. They don't want to let it go. So to me, a save is a really, really meaningful thing to look at, and something that we're definitely tracking on our side. Another thing that is really important to be looking at is the number of engagements per post you get. You know, we all have competitors in our market, and it's really easy to get caught up on they have more followers than me, or things like that. But honestly, what matters more is how many people are engaging with their posts. If someone has 150,000 followers on their page, but they only get 200 likes per high quality image, to me, that means that their follower balance is off, that they're not doing something, or they're not doing something that they should be, or they're doing something they shouldn't be, that the health of their account, that would be a red flag for me. Yes, I pay attention to how many followers our accounts have, especially Cabico, but it's definitely not the only thing we look at.
And Rebecca, I'm just gonna interject here for a second. Are you asking us if we use the Facebook Business Manager, or are you, is that a general ask? You wanna just turn your asking us? Okay.
Yes, we do. So because we're an agency, we have enterprise level solutions. So typically what we end up using, the tools that we use are based on the Hootsuite platform, and we have access to a social listening tool called Meltwater that aggregates absolutely everything. But the data that you need for your purposes is absolutely available through Facebook Business Suite. And then on a per post basis, you can get what you need through the internal Instagram analytics. All right, I think we're nearing the end, so I'll make this quick. I said this once, but I'm going to say it again. People want to work with people that other people want to work with. There's a note here that word travels fast in a small town, and social media is the biggest small town. Unfortunately, it's just a truth, I think, of human nature, but bad news tends to travel faster. And as business owners and operators, it's really important to capture the good and share it when we can, because it needs to balance out. There's a lot of important places to collect and aggregate and share these things, including Google and Houzz. But we like to work in testimonials into our content strategy, and it's an awesome opportunity to reach out to people who are interacting with your business and ask for feedback. If it's not positive, it's an opportunity to change and grow and improve. And if it is positive, it's an awesome opportunity to gather what they say and show people how awesome you are in your market and what it would be like to work with you. So yeah, I would definitely say that that's a key takeaway for today as well. Don't be shy in asking for feedback. Don't be shy to reach out with people that you haven't even spoken with in a few months, because if their experience was good, that's a really strong asset that you should have access to.
And we'd also like to ask you to take the next step and talk about, even if you're on Houzz, for example, if there's great testimonials that you'd like to share about Cabico or Elmwood itself, we would encourage everyone to give testimonials as well, just to support the brand. As I said, we're all in this together, and that would be great.
Good note. Absolutely. Thanks, Leanne.
Okay, I'm going to take it home here. So please make sure that you're tagging us and everything, because we will share. And we love seeing all the user-generated content. It's been fantastic. Hopefully everyone is signed up for the monthly newsletters, if everyone is getting them. If you haven't, please email marketing@cabico.co and Jade will make sure that you're on the list. And I wouldn't mind if anyone just puts in chat, yes, 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 no. We do a monthly social media support package from Flying Kim where we give you assets and we love seeing them in the marketplace and everyone using them. So if you do, please say yes. And if you don't, make sure that you email us and we'll put you on the list. And make sure that you're following both Cabico and Elmwood on Instagram. And now we are going to go to some Q&A. Is there trackable reach engagement on using Instagram guides? Just started playing around with that and have some ready to post this month, but haven't yet. Kim, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, definitely. So what we're seeing, and we're just getting started on using these as well. And because it's a new product, we can't pull it into our enterprise level platforms that it usually takes them a minute to get caught up. But what I've seen is clicks and views for guides. So you get really basic stuff. And that's kind of where Instagram guides and Instagram in general, really, when they launch a new product, it takes them a while to get caught up with the analytics side. I don't know, Rachel, do you have any experience around that as well?
With guides, I know we played around with it for one of our other accounts. It's a good place, for example, for Cabis. So for having the Cabis trade show, it's a good place to have all of the content relating to that specific event in one place. So there's different ways that you guys can use it. I haven't used it a lot, but it's definitely something very useful for people on your page if you want to kind of categorize things and things like that.
So yeah, I guess then in terms of like reach and engagement, I would consider that in development.
What are your thoughts or recommendations on reposting? Is it okay? Can you do it much? And when you ask that, Marnie, do you mean reposting other people's?
You mean like,
yeah, like,
regram?
you know, as a rep, I'm on the rep side, so I might be reposting something you posted on Cabico's website or Instagram feed, or a dealer may have posted something, or vice versa. Like if I post something and a dealer wants to repost it,
Yeah.
is that okay? Does that get you traction, or is it better to just create your own post?
Okay, so I'm going to assume that it's a really awesome asset that's pertinent to your business and you've identified it and you want to share it. The answer is yes, absolutely, but there are some guidelines. So don't use an automatic repost app so that you get the little square in the bottom with the little thing.
Okay, how do you do it not that way?
So if you're on your desktop, you can take a screenshot, and if you're on your mobile phone, you can take a screenshot and you can crop it. Another way to do it is if you can reach out and ask them for the original one and they can email it to you. There's a lot of different ways to work around it, but I'm not a fan. I think it sullies up the feed to have those little break boxes, and I'm not a fan. The other recommendation is if you have to tag, we get a lot of our content this way. We'll always use the hashtag regram so that it's very evident to the people who are following us that we are not the original source of that image. And that acts as a trigger for them to look for the next tag, because we will tag the original poster. And like with things like this, where it could be 3 different tags before you find the actual reposter. So you may have to do some digging to find out who that actually is. But yes, absolutely, as long as you're tagging the original poster, using the hashtag regram, and then looking at the hashtags that the original poster used, because if it was part of a campaign, or you can tell by looking at those hashtags that they were trying to get something special done, it's common courtesy to post when you're doing that with their hashtags as well, especially if it was part of a promotion or something like that.
And the advantage to that, Marnie, is that you can put your own personal perspective on it and you can say why it's important to your business.
Mm-hmm.
You can do a shout out to your dealer or something like that, versus just like having a copy and paste of their caption. We would encourage you to put your personal spin on it and then share their information.
And that's something too with the social support packages that we distribute each month. I've had that question from a few dealers asking, you know, is it okay that I'm posting a design that's not mine? As long as it's something that you can do. So, you know, if you're an Essence and Unique exclusive dealer and you don't do Elmwood, we wouldn't recommend posting an Elmwood design. Just little things like that. And like Leanne said, customize the caption as much as you want. So for those support packages, we do give suggested captions, but make sure it's, you know, in your tone of voice and and sounds like you and relates back to your brand as well.
Any other questions, Karina?
Yeah, Karina.
Yes. How do you feel about reposting like on stories? Like if we're tagged to obviously the story because we're part of that project, like would you recommend that we should repost or yeah? what's your
Generally, we
recommendation?
do if the asset is high enough quality. And especially if it's a video file, it's really important to watch the whole thing and not just repost because you were tagged, because those videos can go on for 15 seconds and beyond if it's a series. So you don't want something to pop up that isn't affiliated with your brand or something like that that happens later in the video. So yeah, make sure you vet the asset really carefully and don't share assets that aren't high enough quality to shine your business in the best possible light. Yeah, definitely. I don't, some people will sort of zoom in so that the original poster line at the top is kind of spaced out and goes off screen. I don't recommend doing that because I think it should be really evident who posted the original story. But yeah, I'm not against that tactic at all. And then just a note about resharing. It has been possible to share from the feed directly to your story. But I believe they're taking that functionality away. I think they've started phasing that out. So if you're thinking strategically, don't worry too much about making that part of what you feel like you need to do or look at going forward.
Okay, it looks like we're winding down on the questions. I have a question for everyone. We're thinking about our next kind of topics for our webinars. How many people would be interested in more about the social boosting and the social advertising? Is that something that you'd be into? And you don't have to tell us now, let Jess know. Just put some suggestions or anything that you would like to know about. And we're also the PR agency as well. If you have any ideas or any questions or anything you'd like to learn about on the public relations side, we're happy to do that as well. So just let Jess know and she will put it all together and come up with some brilliant topics, right, Jess?
Yeah, I actually just dropped our quick little survey in the chat right now, and I added a question specifically for that. So it's our regular like 3-question survey, but it's for today because we want to know what other topics you guys would like us to cover with Flying Camel this year. Like I said, this is the first of a series of 4 webinars that we're going to do with Flying Camel specifically on PR and social media types of topics. So let us know what specifically you would like to learn more about from the experts.
Yeah, and just so you know, some of the pillars that we do work on: social media, public relations. We also work on influencer management, and we also can share tips on content creation as well. We could dive deep into that. So just a few topics there. If anyone's interested, just let Jess know.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, well, if there are no other last minute questions, then thank you guys so much for coming to our webinar today. Make sure you take a couple of minutes and fill out the survey so that we know how we did and what we can do better for the next one. And yeah, just keep your eye out for announcements for future webinars. Make sure that you are signed up for our newsletter, our social media package, and if anybody's interested in doing a Instagram takeover, contact me. We will follow up with an email to everybody that attended and give you guys the deck that we presented today, as well as the social media guidebook that Flying Camel made for us this year. And it covers multiple different platforms, not just Instagram specific, but I think it'll be super helpful for everyone. We've gotten some really good feedback on it so far. So awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, everyone.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.